I feel like I can hear what some people are thinking, and I feel like some people who want to sort of say, well, then, it was just rabbis who said whatever they wanted to say since it was orally transmitted. No human can. And I feel like I've heard a lot of that. And it wasn't until I went on my own journey of studying Torah with a real sort of devoted rabbi for the last 25 years. And simultaneously, everything that I learned for me, because I was raised with a very rational parents. My parents were very educated and very rational. Everything needed to be proved scientifically. And surprisingly, shockingly, I was able to find scientific proof to everything that Torah spoke to. I was able to find, whether it was quantum physics or psychology or another science, virtually every single Torah concept that I was taught had proof in quantum physics, science, or psychology. So for me, that is where truth was born, the idea of truth, because I went to UC Berkeley, very liberal. Everybody's truth is their truth, and I was cracked open to believe, okay, everybody has their perception, but it wasn't until I understood and truly realized that when I studied shamanism, Peruvian shamans who live in the Amazon, who never left the Amazon, were saying that the same spiritual concepts were true as what existed in the Torah, that to me, that's truth. That's truth. And that happened with every single Torah concept I came across. So I know my great-grandfather would say that everything in the world that exists comes from Torah. And for a long time, I thought that was just, it's like the Greeks say everything comes from Greece, and everybody else says everything comes from their culture. But so far in my short life, it's been true.
Yes. But also this romantic part. The further we go in history, the older our relationship with God becomes. Therefore, God can reveal to the sages things that he did not reveal at Mount Sinai. So the things that we learn later in history are more personal to God, and that's why he whispers it to one person, not like thundering it from the top of the mountain.
Wow.
So we're getting more intimate, so the rabbinic, the mitzvot de Rabbanan, in some way, are more personal than the ones written in the Torah. So it turns everything upside down. We're not fading out, we're getting deeper. Like, for example, if you remember the pasuk, at the end of the 40 years in the desert, Moshe says to the people, till today, God did not give you lev, lahovin, eisen, lishmeya, v'ayin. Now, 40 years later, you're starting to understand. That's only 40 years. 400 years? 4,000 years? We're making progress.
Wow.
So the customs, the minhag, the things that we become careful about that are not written in the Torah and your grandfather never heard about, is more important in some way than the things we've always had. So I have a very interesting little example of this. I don't know when it started, but it's pretty recent. If you cut open an onion and leave it overnight, you're not allowed to eat it. People thought it was a superstition. It was some kind of a mystical something or another. It's not written in the Torah, it's not written. You know what the problem is? An onion, you cut it open and leave it overnight, it absorbs viruses. You don't eat it the next day. In fact, if you have a virus or a bad chest cold, cut open an onion, put it near your bed when you're sleeping, and you'll wake up feeling better. Because the virus will be in the onion. Nothing mystical, nothing magical, but ahead of its time. I think the main objective in studying Kabbalah is not to be impressed, to translate it down, demystify, don't get mystical. You said, it's not like Buddhists sitting on top of a mountain. Stay connected. And we find that also in the Torah. Remember, Miriam and Aaron were saying bad things about Moshe, and Miriam got leprosy. What were they saying? What bad thing were they saying about Moshe? When Moshe came down off the mountain after 40 days and 40 nights, he was not intimate with his wife anymore. And Miriam was saying, who do you think you are? There are a lot of holy people, they're intimate. You're not supposed to be like that.
Wow.
Come back down to earth. You've landed.
Right.
The eagle has landed. You're back to earth, act like a human being. And she was right. And God agreed with her. In principle. God said, you're right, but Moshe is an exception. Don't mess with Moshe.
Wow. Wow. Next question. Fairy.
I just wanted to say what a privilege this is to be sitting here and listening.
Louder.
First, I just wanted to say what a privilege this is to be sitting here and listening to both of you. Second, I wanted to say that I just came from a wedding in Cabo, in Mexico, and I'm sitting there, and there's, the chuppah and the glass and the Kiddush cup, and I just had tears in my eyes because it's moments like that where I'm like, only God could have predicted that 4,000 years later, the Chatan and the Kala will need to get married like this, they will need to start their life like this, and so many years later, even Reformed Jews are still getting married under the tzitzit with the Kiddush cup, and it was the most amazing thing to me in those moments. I'm like, wow, it's like, he knew that throughout time, they would need some kind of a framework, whether they were Hasidus, Reform, Conservative. He knew there would need a framework to keep Jewish couples, Jewish children alive. So I just wanted to say we were in Mexico, but it was the same thing. It was the same thing in Mexico as it is in Los Angeles, as it is in Russia, and you realize the brilliance of the Torah, the brilliance of God in those moments when you realize couples around the world are getting married under the tzitzit with the same blessings, with the same Kiddush cup, drinking the same glass. So I just wanted to say, coming from that experience, it's those moments when I realize how brilliant, it all is. So then now my next question is this. So in my personal life, I went through something very difficult a few years ago. And through the experience, and I want to be grateful to Mona who helped me get through it, Dr. Mona who helped me get through it. But I'm in a place now where I struggle a little with trying to understand that experience from the lens that I'm here to serve God. And if this thing that I'm struggling with that I can't have, maybe that doesn't belong in my service to God. So in my work with Mona, we're really at this point now where it's about, you're here to serve God. You're not here to sit here and say, I want this and I want that. And this concept has even come into my attempt to keep Shabbat. Because I'm trying to keep Shabbat, and it's very difficult. So we just had this discussion where I told her I'm having a really hard time keeping Shabbat. It feels like I'm crawling out of my skin. And she's like, when you think about Shabbat, think about serving God, not asking, I want this and I want that. So this concept, in its most profound way, is what I'm dealing with now, is, wow, I'm here really to serve God, and all these things I think I need, maybe I just don't need. And if I'm really here to serve God, then that actually lifts so much pressure, mental pressure, off of what it is I think I need. And rather, if I could really serve God, then it would be a completely different experience. You know, so I just kind of, I don't know if that makes sense, but since I'm here tonight, I wanted to ask if you could shed some, maybe share some wisdom on how to let go of this thing I experienced and really be in this place of serving God.
You're onto something here, something awesome. Let me put it in personal context. I'll talk about myself, but you'll get the idea. I need to eat. I need to sleep. I need friends and support. I need a job. I need money. I need something to do. I need. It just goes on and on and on. It turns out that this is depressing. The fact that I need to eat is depressing. It's called existential angst. I don't want to need to eat. I hate it. It's a handicap. I didn't ask for it, and there's nothing I can do about it. I've tried going without food for more than an hour. And I can't. I try going without sleep, and I can't. Came to the conclusion that the need to eat is not mine. I don't need to eat. I just can't help it. I didn't ask for it. I didn't do this to myself. God created me dependent on food. And I don't know why. Because it's a nasty thing. I actually was talking to a woman who was anorexic.
Wow.
And she had been to therapy. She was not in danger anymore. But she calls up and she says, I still think eating is disgusting. I said, it is. And I said, everything that the Mishnah says about if you eat more, the worms will have more to eat when you die. You know, just like eating is animalistic, it's grubby, it's disgusting. She says, you're worse than me. I said, I'm just telling you the truth. It's so humiliating. What is it that we eat? The same thing the rabbit eats. In fact, if I don't have a scarecrow, the rabbit is going to take away my food. I'm competing with a rabbit. It's humiliating. Why did God do this to me? I don't know. So all I can do is swallow my pride, no pun intended. I swallow my pride and I eat something. Her problem was gone.
Wow.
Mostly because I agreed with her. Everybody disagrees and it doesn't help. I don't need to eat. I really don't. In fact, if we didn't eat, we would live forever.
Mm.
But because we eat, we die. Because no food is completely healthy. I don't need to sleep. I really don't. A human being spend half your life sleeping is crazy. So if I designed myself, I would not need to sleep, and I would not need to eat, and I would not need to drink. So I need to eat? No. Whoever designed me needs me to eat. I can't claim it as mine. This is the future of psychology. You don't have deep, unresolved needs. You need nothing. Knock it off. You need nothing. Well, then what am I doing here? Oh, you are needed. Your eating is needed. It's not your need. So when we get this hang-up, but I must have, I need. No. Even if you can't do without, it's not your need. And the best example for it is, this kid goes off to yeshiva. Teenager. Overseas. He arrives at the yeshiva, and he goes into the dean, who was a deep Hasidic thinker, and he says to the dean, I need to call my mother. Which phone can I use? The dean said to him, I need... And he repeated it a few times. The kid said, yeah, I need to call my mother. The kid, I need... He got the message, and he said to the dean, my mother needs me to call her. Which phone can I use? And the dean said, good. Lesson number 1. You've become a mensch. It's not true that a teenage boy needs to call his mother. It's very true that his mother needs him to call. It's not true that I need to eat. It's very true that God needs me to eat. It's not true that I need to be religious. It's not even true that I need to serve God. God needs me to serve him. When I say I need it, it's plagiarism. Why are you playing God? You don't need it. This is the future of psychology. When a person is depressed or oppressed or burdened by whatever it is, you go to the therapist, and the therapist will help you realize you don't need it. But that doesn't leave you without a job, because you are needed. Torah tells us this for free. God comes down to Mount Sinai and says, I created the world, blame me. It's not your problem, it's my problem. And I need you to keep Shabbos. You know why? Because that's what I'm doing on Shabbos. Stay with me. In the 6 days I create, you create too. On Shabbos I rest. Rest with me. Stay with me. Follow me. Do what I do, so that we're on the same page. So who needs? And this is where religion has become its own worst enemy. You need to be good. I don't need to be good. Oh, you're going to go to hell. Okay, don't threaten me. Explain it or be quiet. But threatening me, it doesn't work anymore. Yeah?
Absolutely.
People don't react to threats. But you're going to die. So what's your point? I'm not going to live life in order not to die. Doesn't make any sense anymore. So tell me what's important. Don't threaten me. It's not going to work. So the religious grandfather says to the kid, you must go to the synagogue. The kid said, I must? No. Well, but you must keep kosher. I must? No, I don't. And then it just becomes a nasty argument. Yes, you do. No, I don't. Yes, you do. I don't need to go to heaven. I don't need to be good. I don't need to be holy. I don't need to be enlightened. I don't need anything because I didn't ask to be born. Don't tell me I need. It's like taking me out to an expensive restaurant and then telling me to pay the bill. This was not my idea. How did I become responsible? See, that's going back to the purpose. Why am I here in the first place? Don't tell me how to get off the world. Tell me how I got on. How did I get into this mess? Did I ask for it? No. Did I sign some contract? No. Did I agree to all these responsibilities? No. So how am I responsible? Oh, because if you don't do it, you'll get punished. This is sick.